We have two council members that are in the executive room right now finishing up a meeting, but it is 6:17. On Monday, December 6, 2021, we are going to be going into a closed session regarding RCW 4230.140, Section 4, Subsection B. We have Councilmember Smith, Holland, Graham, Fredericks, and Chapman with us at this time. At this time, it's 6:17. We'll approximately be in executive session regarding collective bargaining for approximately...
Closed session.
Oh, closed session, sorry, closed session.
Oh. Ways away.
Yeah, no, we're not programming.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. How are you? Good. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
How you doing?
Bye, Dennis.
The time is now 6:33, and we will be going into an executive session for approximately 25 minutes. RCW 42.30.110, Section 1, Subsection G. Discuss qualification. We are out of executive session. Have to, all these things for Public Works. Did you not have this stuff yet?
It's authorized mayor to approve invoices. 743 is already signed.
Okay. I guess not. Okay. I guess it's not work. It's just administrative stuff.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, it's only the first reading of the budget.
Okay. Oh. And we still have a quorum, so that's good. Oh, she needs a thing there. Good evening, everybody. It is 7 p.m. on Monday, the 6th, 2021. I will note that we started on time this evening. Thank you.
Chief just went to go get the signage.
All right. If I could please get everyone to silence your cell phones that are in the gallery and rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yep.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mrs. Anderson, will you please take the roll this evening?
Councilmember Fredericks.
Here.
Councilmember Rounds. Councilmember Chapman.
Here.
Councilmember Holland.
Present.
Councilmember Smith.
Here.
Councilmember Plaza. Councilmember Graham.
Here.
All right. Councilmember Plaza and Councilmember Rounds have called out this evening. They did contact us ahead of time.
Move to excuse. Second.
Moved by Councilmember Frederick, seconded by Councilmember Smith. Mrs. Anderson?
I'll get there. Councilmember Chapman.
Aye.
Councilmember Fredericks.
Aye.
Councilmember Holland.
Aye.
Councilmember Graham.
Aye.
Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
All right. Both council members have been excused. Moving on to citizen communications for items not on the agenda. First up, we have Mrs. Miller. I'll have you step forward and provide you 5 minutes.
Good evening.
Good evening. Is that on? Did you say green light?
Now I do.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I can talk loud. Denise Miller, P.O. Box 1012, Woodland, Washington. I am on here behalf of the Woodland Chamber of Commerce this evening. I would like to thank you all who was able to make it to the after hours last week on Thursday. It was a great success. We put Mayor and Chief up to be our auctioneers. They did a great job. They helped us raise nice funds for our chamber to continue. We also want to thank all of our donors who were able to donate items to be auctioned off or purchased items that were being auctioned. The second thing I would like to let everyone know about is something really exciting. We are switching our weekly meetings to bi-weekly meetings, and they will be meeting the first and third Tuesday of every month. So similar to what your guys' city council is, it'll be on the Tuesday though. The first Tuesday of the month will be more of our structured meeting with speakers, and the way that will look is it will be similar to the other chambers in our area where you RSVP. If you would like to have lunch, you will have paid lunch, so it will be paid for, or you can choose to not have a lunch and just go, and it will be a 2-hour-long meeting instead of the hour-long meeting, so that way we can bring in more structured speakers, have time for networking and questions. And then the third Tuesday of the month is a members networking meeting. So it's going to be similar to the setup now, where you show up and you just can network with the members. You order off menu, and it's more of just a networking event. We've heard from a lot of our members, and this is a schedule we're going to try out to see. That way businesses can pick and choose which months they come to. That way they can better their time. Another exciting thing we're doing is starting on the 11th of January, we're starting up our legislative calls again. That's Tuesday. We're going to be doing it via Zoom again, as we did last year, as well as some groups will be meeting on location. More information on that will be coming out, the Zoom information, of course, the times and who we'll be meeting with each week. Our banquet is on January 29th. It is a Saturday. It'll be at A. And let's see here, what else we got? Our membership renewals have gone out, so we're beginning to get our members to rejoin, as well as some new members. What else is exciting happening in the chamber? We have a new employee over there. She's great. Go visit her. She's great. She has been going through all of our different brochures and pamphlets and learning new stuff herself, which is always fun. A cool thing that happened today, we installed cameras about a month ago. We had a cool little instance today. Well, we'll say cool. We've been having issues with trash being dropped at our property, like large amounts of trash. Well, we got to catch somebody doing it today, and we made them go clean it up. So cameras are working. But that
Do you have
is...
video of the freeway, by chance?
No, I looked for last week.
Oh.
We can see all the lights, but we can't see that far. And even if you could, you wouldn't be able to make anything out.
Gotcha.
So we cover the parking lot and around our building for the safety of our employees, as well as keeping track of the cars that are there longer than they're supposed to.
Gotcha.
So that is what's going on with the chamber.
Thank you. Appreciate you being here tonight.
You're welcome.
All right. Mr. Johnson.
I made a mistake. I just signed to her, so.
Okay. You assigned it to Mrs. Johnson? Is that?
No.
Oh, okay.
She signed it, so he signed it.
Oh, gotcha. Oh, I see. Tracking. Did you sure you didn't want to have anything to talk about? Mr. Belial.
Hi, good evening. Keith Belial, representing Woodland Planters Days, with a little report. We will have our monthly meeting tomorrow evening, 6 o'clock at Columbia Bank. The public is invited. I don't know how much seating we have, but we could try to accommodate people. We have just ended the theme contest and have the winning theme as Celebrating 100 Years of Community, and that was submitted by Barb Boswell, and she'll be receiving a $100 award for that. As another contest that has just started is the Young Artists Contest for Planners Days to represent the theme. The entrants should use the theme to guide their artwork, and that's been sent to the schools. And I've also posted a link to the form on the website, on the Planners Days website.
When is that due?
By January 4th, 5 o'clock. I think that's all we have for now, but we have lots of stuff going on. The sponsorship letters should be going out by the end of this week.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for the update.
Sure.
All right. Seeing no one else, anyone who failed to sign up at the beginning of the meeting for items not on the agenda? Anyone online? Seeing no one, moving on to items on the agenda. Mrs. Johnson, you have 32 seconds.
It takes me that long. I hope I signed up on the right one, because I came to talk about the budget, and it looked like the budget was on the agenda, but I wasn't sure if the budget...
It's on for first reading tonight.
Right.
Yeah.
And I thought that we had a very successful meeting with the LTAC board, and I thought the recommendations that came out of the LTAC board were very good. I think they considered all of the people that were asking for money, and in my feeling, they did a very good job in the selection. So I'm hopeful that when it comes to a vote of the council, that they will accept the recommendations of the LTAC board.
Perfect. Thank you.
I'm actually supporting
well,
something
well,
rather than telling you to do something different.
I got scared
I
because
should,
I wasn't
I
sure.
should get a star or something.
Yeah, gold star.
I'm going to go ahead and mark the time. It's 7:09 on 12/6. Mrs. Johnson said we did something right. Thank you for that. Is there anyone else in the gallery for items on the agenda? Now's your opportunity. Anyone online?
Can I ask a question on that?
Fire away.
If I understand correctly, we approved that in the budget, the LTAC, and then it's a separate item
will
that we'll
come
be
back.
dealing with
Yes.
later.
Correct. Yeah, line will be individual.
Right, so the individual contracts will come before you, and, but right now, we're trying to get the appropriation.
Okay. Got it. So there'll be another time for you to...
Come tell us how awesome we are.
Yeah. You get 2 times. 2 times.
I'll note that in time too.
Yes.
Just to make sure. All right, seeing nothing else, we've come to the agenda itself tonight.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Frederick, seconded by Councilmember Smith. Mrs. Anderson.
Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Chapman.
Aye.
Councilmember Graham.
Aye.
Councilmember Fredericks.
Aye.
Councilmember Holland.
Aye.
The agenda has been approved. Moving on to reports of City Council. Mrs. Graham.
Well, first of all, I'd like to continue on for what Mr. Belisle was talking about, our new theme that has been selected for Planners Day, celebrating 100 years of community by Barb Boswell. I was elated when I saw who had submitted the theme and had won, because she holds longtime family roots here in town. So I thought that was really good. And of course, now that there's a theme, I can get tickets printed. So, with our chamber after hours Thursday night, I do want to thank the mayor and the chief for adding some highlight, little fun to our auction. And,
Well, I had a beer, so it was easier.
Oh, well, yeah, but still, when anybody can auction off a dollar bill and make money on it, now that's darn good. So,
How much did we get for that dollar? 20 bucks. Nice. I was shooting for 50.
yeah. Anyway, it was quite entertaining, and I want to thank Denise Miller for she is our chamber executive director, for getting everybody in order, and we're very, very fortunate to have her, and appreciate everything that she does, and tries to keep everybody in line and delegate their duties to the best of her abilities. And sometimes people are kind of stubborn, but it all works out in the end. But it was a good time, and she puts in a lot of work for us. So we had a really, really nice evening that night. And then there was the beautiful city tree lighting on Saturday night.
Yes.
It was a little bit damp.
A little, yeah. Understated.
But the coffee was good, and it was fun to see people come out and rush in with all of their jackets and umbrellas and whatnot, and for the special event. And it was fun. I had a prime parking spot, so it was
Yes,
really
you did.
good. And I think that's all of my notes that I have.
All right.
So we shall carry on for the next one.
All right. Any other reports of council? Mr. Smith?
I as well attended the Winterfest in downtown for the tree lighting, and it was a bit wet, so we didn't stay for the entire thing because I have toddlers and they don't enjoy standing in the rain. But we stayed for the tree lighting and had some hot chocolate and apple cider, so thank you. It was a good time.
Nice. All right, seeing nothing else. Public Works Committee. Oh, wait. Yes, Public Works Committee. Sorry. Mr. Smith?
Yeah, that's me. Sorry. Public Works met today at 5:30 in Council's chambers. So we went over stuff very quickly, but I'll do the best I can here. So the Westcott Avenue water crossing at the railroad, if I said that right, and the Davidson water crossing, the way you said it, you had it in my head and now it's gone, so I apologize. But the water crossing at the railroad, both of those are out to bid and they're due back by December 15th and be ready for council approval on December 20th meeting.
Questions for Mr. Smith?
I'm not done yet.
I saw you.
He's not done yet.
Sorry.
I paused to flip the page.
I like the way you think.
Yeah, thank you.
These are wrong.
Apologize, Mr. Smith.
Street sweeping is happening right now through December 10th, and they're on the east side of town right now. The jail crew is coming back to start helping Public Works, so that's good. We also have a bunch of new hires. Dylan Oliver is a laborer. Kevin Hudson, laborer for the wastewater treatment plant. Tim Sarvella, I hope I said it right. He's the new Public Works superintendent, taking over for Mr. Rip there, Dennis. And Nick Schmidt, a laborer. They'll be holding a January 3rd reception for the new hires. I'm assuming before the meeting. There'll be something going on there. And the Horseshoe Lake pump replacement project is done, and the lake is back up to normal level. And that is all I got. Now, do you have any questions?
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Smith? Seeing none. Public safety.
Public safety. Well, we opted out not to have a face-to-face meeting tonight, but I do have an update from the chief, and here we go. The department has hired one entry-level officer, Austin Warner. Officer Warner began his employment with the PD on December 1st, 2021. He is scheduled to enter the Basic Law Enforcement Academy sometime in April in 22, but could be sooner, as he is on a cancellation list for a current class should a vacancy occur. The chief will be interviewing a candidate this week that has completed background investigation, has been successful in the polygraph examination as well as the psychological exam, and will most likely be starting employment with the PD after the first of the new year. There is also one current officer who is currently going through the application process for another local agency. The city has received other recent applications for lateral officers and will be scheduling interviews for those applicants in the near future. And on the police department goes.
All right, awesome. And Councilmember Fredericks and Councilmember Graham, if I can get you to step down off the dais for a few moments with the chief.
What if we said no?
You don't get a choice.
No choice. Bad.
I'm gonna step out of the way here. Oh, you want me to come down? Oh, okay. I'm trying to get stuff out of photos here.
So unfortunately, next meeting, I'm not going to be here. And I want to make a presentation to you guys. On behalf of the Woodland Police Department, I want to tell you how much I appreciate your support as members of the Public Safety Committee. I'm going to give each of you a department coin. And your support and dedication for the department has not gone unnoticed. And I appreciate what you've done for the city and the department specifically. And then for my contribution, here is the chief's coin. And I appreciate everything you guys have done for our department, the city, realizing that you've got one meeting left and you will be sorely missed. And I'm just making faces at you guys while I'm sitting down there.
We'll just have to come once in a while.
Now the prom photo?
Yeah. Mrs. Graham, did you just get my wallet? I don't have my wallet. Mrs. Graham.
Thank you so much.
I was behind you giving you bunny ears, Wilson.
Can I say something?
I think so, sure, yes.
You're gonna keep it clean?
I'm going to keep it clean.
Go ahead.
I just want to say, hey, I've had the opportunity to go on several ride-alongs with the Woodland PD, and I probably way more than I should have because I kind of maybe overstayed my welcome there for many times. But every officer was willing to take me along, show me what they do, and I learned a tremendous amount about law enforcement. I learned a tremendous amount about the training that they require, and it was probably the highlight of my time on council is the involvement with Woodland PD. And there were some times there when you're making policy decisions that you have to ask for information that kind of maybe bummed some of the officers out, but it was part of my job to do that. And it's been fun to watch the department go through kind of the ups and downs. It is in a much better spot today. I appreciate the leadership that you bring to the table with the group that's the group that helps you provide the services that they provide the citizens of Woodland on a day in, day out basis. So thank you for indulging me with the opportunity to go on ride-alongs. I know Mr. Keller allowed me to go several times with him. I learned a tremendous amount. He brings a lot to the city, but I learned a tremendous amount about law enforcement. It was absolutely a kick and a lot of fun, but when they get into it, sometimes they get into it and they do the things that we don't ever have to get involved with. And so I'm thankful for that. My future son-in-law just got on with the Kent Police Department as a police officer. So I said, you're going to be really busy and you're going to earn every penny because of where you're going to be at and the things you're going to be dealing with on a day in and day out basis. And I know Mr. Keller was with Federal Way, so he shared some stories with me about some of the things that, you know, being sometimes in Federal Way, sometimes it's better to be in the city of Woodland for various reasons. So thank you.
Thank you. And it's, you know, it's because of the support of the Public Safety Committee as well as the remainder of the council. Without you guys, we couldn't be who we are today. And, you know, it's proof of the growth that we're in the process of doing now. And without your support, we wouldn't be able to do that. So I wish I could give all of you a coin, and that will probably happen in the near future, but for now, we'll recognize the members that are vacating their chairs, and I'll let you guys know that as long as I'm sitting in the big chair, you're always welcome to ride with any of the officers at any time. Thank you.
Thank you.
And none of us are being too worried about leaving you on the side of the road. If we get into pursuit, you're getting kicked out.
From myself, most of y'all know that I started out with the police department clear back in 1969, and how it has grown through the years from being in an office in the center building to where it is today. So, and watching the officers and seeing from wearing a gun and a gun belt and carrying a pair of handcuffs to all the gear that you carry now. Yeah. So, you know, the department kind of runs in my blood, and I have the utmost respect for everybody that is involved with it because of how important it is. And play safe, be careful, the whole 9 yards. Love y'all.
All right.
And I didn't cry.
Mrs. Graham, you're back up again for chamber, or should we let that be Mrs. Miller's report?
Mrs. Miller had
Okay.
given the report that I had, and we're still meeting at Tuesday at noon
Okay.
at Costapchia's for a couple more weeks until the new schedule comes on board, and she will keep us posted on everything we have.
Okay.
And the new employee at the visitor center happens to be my niece, and her name is Pam. So, and she loves.
Oh, is
it
that
here.
why she's running around to town? I thought you just roped her into volunteering some time.
Oh, heck no.
I didn't
Man,
realize she was working there.
I put her
I saw
to
her at
work.
dinner, and then where else did I see her? I saw her downtown yesterday. Or-
yeah.
Not yesterday, on Saturday. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
She's running around. Okay, good
Yeah.
for her.
Keep her off the streets.
That's funny. I thought
She's running with me.
I thought she was just volunteering everything. Good for her. Do you have anything for downtown Woodland revitalization?
Only that it looks beautiful downtown with all the lights on Saturday night when I drove through, and I liked all the whatevers and lights, and it was just beautiful. We have a beautiful downtown, so thanks to the city and Tracy and
Yeah, our next meeting is on the 16th at 1 o'clock.
16th at 1 o'clock.
Yeah, and Denise has graciously been working on our new website that we have going on.
Nice.
So, yeah. So we'll be going over our
Make
new
sure we
website.
get linked up with our new website when that's
We
done.
will, and we
Okay.
also are working on the banner application for the DWR to be able to apply for putting banners on the road to earn money for DWR.
Awesome. Okay. Chief?
One thing I did forget to mention is that our next Public Safety Committee meeting will be on the 4th of January.
The 4th of January.
The 3rd
Okay.
is a holiday.
Oh. We didn't catch that today during the meeting.
Thought that December 31st was the holiday for the 1st, because the 1st falls on a Saturday.
According to the calendar, it shows Monday the 3rd is the New Year's Eve, or New Year's Day observed.
Because that conflicts with when it happens. Usually because it's Saturday, it happens on Friday.
We'll,
It's a Sunday, it happens
we'll
on
look at
Monday.
policy and get back to.
Okay. It's gonna look at the school this, yeah, okay. We will get, hey, thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah.
Just to make sure that
I
we're,
didn't mean to confuse everybody.
no, that's good. Okay. On to me, lot going on, we're getting back to normal, for the most part, starting to, see more folks out and about, which is good, and, showing up to see folks. So last Thursday was the Chamber After Hours up at the golf course, which we had a great time. Hopefully, we made a lot of money. It took me about 2 days to get my voice back after the shenanigans that were performed that evening. So hopefully that helped out. Looking forward to having dinner with Mrs. How do you say that? Zoltz. Mrs. Zoltz, who are going to be dining with the chief and I. So that's awesome. Street sweeping, thank you. City's looking good. They came by my house this morning. I had to run out there and, well, I didn't. I sent the boy out there to pull the garbage cans back in because they were in the way. But looking great. Winterfest on Saturday was fun. It got a little wet, but it was great. Good turnout. Got a picture with Santa and Miss Woodland. So that was fun. And I'm currently working on legislative items. I've been in contact with the legislature for support, so more to come with that with the new council going into January. Hopefully we'll have a list by the that first meeting in January to approve. Looking at our consent items this evening, consent item D, what?
Well, I just think legislative priorities, just stop and do no harm.
Yeah, please, right? Yeah, please no more unfunded mandates. Yes, so you threw me off my game. Hold on.
Sorry.
Consent item D, confirm appointment to the civil service. I'd like that removed. We made a mistake on that, and we are unable to appoint for that position tonight. And then also moving on to action item K, I'm very grateful for the executive team and all the hard work and counsel that has gone into the budget this year. I agree with Mrs. Johnson that the recommendation coming from the LTAC committee was on point, so thank you for them for their service as well. And that's all that I have. Mr. Boyce.
Okay, couple items. We passed resolution 741 regarding property tax at a previous meeting on the 15th of November. If you remember, we have an ordinance that sets the property tax amount, which was correct. I got a call from Cowlitz County on the day it was due in. And apparently what we did, we showed on the resolution what our decrease was going to be with the property tax. Apparently jurisdictions don't reduce their property tax very often. So what we should have done correctly is to say we're having a 0% increase and a $0 increase. And then the ordinance shows what the decrease is. So I called it a Scrivener's error and changed the decrease amounts to 0, showing a 0% increase. But I wanted to let the city council know to make sure, I'm meeting the intent of council. So the way I see it, the intent of council was to not do an increase, to do a decrease equivalent to the fire contract amount, so that the citizens of Woodland would be paying the same property tax amount. It's just part of it's going directly to the fire district instead of the city. So, anyway, there's that report. Also, on the budget, last time we talked about a lieutenant position in the police department. So I did include that in the budget. And we also removed, we had talked about adding a clerk 2 position, and we zeroed that amount out to help defray the cost. So with salary and benefits, the lieutenant position would be $144,821. We reduced the clerk 2 position at $86,357. The remaining $58,000 and some change is being, basically it's coming from fund balance from the ongoing savings of not filling the clerk-treasurer position. So, wanted to make everyone aware since that was a discussion point last time.
You had a question, Mr. Fredericks?
I do. I'm just trying to get to that. We also had a decrease in care and custody of prisoners of approximately $123,000 a year. Is that, am I close to that number? And
Yeah.
is that roughly?
I think that was due to COVID, though. Because the jail wasn't accepting folks. They were only accepting
So
certain
that's
numbers.
for fiscal year 21.
Are we even arresting people anymore?
I'll be arresting.
Okay, I'm just checking.
Yeah.
Seems to be a little bit more difficult these days.
Just book and release.
Okay. That's it. Thank you.
Okay. And since we talked about the LTAC committee and what they recommended, I wanted to make sure we stated what that recommendation was. And I got it right before me, and now I got it on my phone too. So. And of course my phone rebooted, so. Anyway, the amount in the budget is for what the recommendation was. And I apologize for not having that in front of me right now.
The allocation. That's 7,500 to.
7,500 to Y Racing, 40,000 to the chamber.
15.
Is it 6 for the Lilac Gardens?
Planners
I
Day,
got Planners
5,000.
Day 5,000 and 6,000 to the Lilac Gardens.
Yes, I like it.
So the Y Racing did ask for 15, but the recommendation came back to 7,500.
And it was all contingent upon these entities having a physical event. The one other item I wanted to bring up, and I've got way too much paper here. On January 4th, 2022, there's going to be an appeal hearing for 20 after 4 at 1 p.m. in this room, Travis?
Yes.
Yep. So I wanted to make sure everyone understood that. December 16th, Planning Commission's meeting here at 7 p.m. And that's my report for this evening.
What's Fred's?
Can you explain the appeal process and where, how that works?
I will let Mr. Goddard take care of that.
Sure. So under the revised code that we just adopted a year ago for revising our code enforcement program, the notice and order is issued by staff. The appeal goes to the hearings examiner, who is a third-party attorney who is unbiased in the process. He determines whether there was any error in the processing and the conclusion reached by the staff in issuing the notice and order. And that appeal, or appeal of the notice and order, would go to county court if they felt that the error or the examiner erred in reaching his decision.
Boy, this sounds familiar.
Yes.
Have we worked on getting that out of, it reminds me of the other, are we working to get that out of council's hands so we don't have to do that again? Okay.
Your workshop tonight?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
is
what I was,
that-
Yes.
I was gonna say, it's tonight.
Why are we having a workshop? We have too much stuff. Okay, it's not my, sorry.
Because
2
you're
meetings
not gonna
left.
be here much longer, and I know you want.
Yeah.
You want to drag it out
That
for
was an
you,
inside voice that I just let out, sorry.
where there'll be action asked at the next meeting on the 20th for
Okay.
action to be taken on that item.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Guess we'll be talking.
All right, seeing none. Mr. Randolph?
The only thing I have is I checked the Department of Revenue, and the first holiday in January is January 17th, which is Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday. So I don't think the 3rd is observed for Veterans.
Gotcha, okay.
Well, if the Department of Revenue says that's the case, then that must be the case.
That's where the money goes.
IRS says it's wrong.
That's all I have to say.
All right. Clerk-Treasurer's Department?
No.
No, okay. Chief Kelly?
That's the public safety report.
All right. Mr. Goddard? Anything of significance? All right. And Ms. Coleman, anything of significance this evening? All right. Thank you very much. Moving on to consent items.
Move to adopt the consent items with the exception of D.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Fredericks, seconded by Councilmember Chapman. Mrs. Anderson?
Councilmember Chapman?
Aye.
Councilmember Fredericks?
Aye.
Councilmember Graham?
Aye.
Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Councilmember Holland?
Aye.
Consent items have passed with the exception of D. Moving on to action items. Did you want to take a break? All right. Why don't we go ahead and take a 5-minute recess? We have been going since about 6:15, so the time is now 6:36. We will take, is 4 minutes enough?
Mr. Fredericks, we're waiting for you. ABCs, ABC, always be closing, always be closing, ABCs.
One meeting left.
All right, moving on to action items this evening. Action item E, adopt ordinance number 1495, 2022 final budget first reading. And when I had stated during my report, I will say, I said action item K, which is the amendments this evening. I meant to say action item E, so good job to executive team. I just don't know how to read, apparently.
And to clarify, you did want us, you requested a full D on the consent.
That is correct. Yes, that is correct. You did great.
All right.
All right, action item E.
Move to adopt ordinance number 1495.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Fredericks, seconded by Councilmember Chapman. Councilmember Fredericks.
Well, this is my 14th budget process and last. I would say we have come a long way from doing the budget process. Ms. Anderson, you can remember this off of Excel spreadsheets.
Yeah.
But we really have come a long way. The budget is professionally done. It looks fantastic. It makes sense. And it just seems to me that there's not as much stress as there used to be starting. Because I can remember meeting sometimes in September and meeting 4 times. Now, some of this was probably my fault. But meeting...
Yeah, make sure your microphone's on so we can all...
meeting 4 times in October, November, and sometimes we would passed the final reading at the last meeting in December, and it came close to one time. I think we had to call a special meeting in December after that to get it done by the 31st. So I guess what I have to say is it's professional, it's come a long way, and I appreciate the leadership that you provide to make sure that it gets done. It's fantastic, and I appreciate it.
Councilmember Chapman.
I agree totally. It's, since being on council, we've been actually had brought forth a balanced budget, and it's nice to have balanced budgets, and then to be able to find a little bit of money in there to help with the little extras that we can get for our different departments and stuff. So I very much appreciate that, and I hope we keep on going forward with it like that.
Thank you, Mr. Chapman. Further discussion? All right, seeing none. Action item E, adopt ordinance number 1495, 2022, final budget, first reading. Mrs. Anderson, sorry, I'm waiting.
Councilmember Graham?
Aye.
Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Councilmember Holland?
Aye.
Councilmember Chapman?
Aye.
Councilmember Fredericks?
Aye.
Action item E has passed. Moving on to action item F, authorize mayor to sign interlocal agreement extension for grounds, equipment, and maintenance services.
Motion to approve. Action item F, authorize mayor to sign interlocal agreement extension for grounds, equipment, and maintenance services.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Smith, seconded by Councilmember Holland. Councilmember Smith?
If I was understanding this correctly from Director Coleman, it is our agreement with the local areas to be able to work together with Kelso or Kalama to get some projects done. It's needed and a good thing.
Councilmember Holland?
No comment.
Further discussion? Mr. Fredericks?
Ms. Coleman, where are we, how are we paying for this? Is this,
We don't pay for it.
it's free?
In our local agreement, it's free. So it's when the police car broke down in Spokane,
Yeah?
it allowed us to have their mechanics work on our car.
Okay.
So if anybody else, like, we have a problem like Kalama where we need to use a TV line or whatever, it allows us to work with other municipalities at their cost.
Got
So
it.
we don't have to go out and bid or do anything like that. So we all
Excellent.
work together. Vancouver, Kalama, the tribal police, Ridgefield, we all work together and provide at our own costs. It's just a way to share the means of services and supplies. If we need sand or something.
It's like a reciprocal agreement amongst other agencies?
Yeah, that's exactly,
Okay.
yes.
Got it. It just says
Doesn't cost-
TBD on here as far as expense.
Oh,
So
I'm not sure that was an error, I apologize.
Oh, that's
It should
okay.
it should have been 0. I apologize for that. Yeah, I
0 is
missed
the
that.
best.
Anything further? Mr. Smith?
With all these smaller
Nice
agencies, it is a need. You're not going to have everything you need at this small city here, so it is good to team up with everybody.
Anything further? Mrs. Anderson, action item F, authorize mayor to sign interlocal agreement extension for grounds, equipment, and maintenance services.
Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Councilmember Chapman?
Aye.
Councilmember Holland?
Aye.
Councilmember Fredericks?
Aye.
Councilmember Graham?
Aye.
Action item F has passed. Moving on to action item G, authorize mayor to approve invoices, Matt Reichel Construction for the emergency sewer work, SMA-21-009 B and C at Fraser and CC Streets.
Motion to approve mayor to authorize invoices for Matt Reichel Construction for emergency sewer repair.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Smith, seconded by Councilmember Holland. Councilmember Smith.
It was an emergency sewer repair. I think it's pretty self-explanatory.
Councilmember Holland.
Yeah, we discussed this during our Public Works meeting, and it needed done. People had sewage backing up into their home, so.
Further discussion? Seeing none, Mrs. Anderson, you take the roll on action item G.
Councilmember Graham?
Aye.
Councilmember Holland?
Aye.
Councilmember Chapman?
Aye.
Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Councilmember Fredericks?
Aye.
Action item G has passed. Moving on to action item H, authorize mayor to approve invoice with, I can never, Helm? Haim? H-A-L-M-E? Let's say it again, I'm sorry. Helm an excavating company, later to be discussed, for SMA-21-013 Atlantic Sidewalk Project. Helmy.
Motion to authorize mayor to approve invoice with Halm Excavating for Atlantic Sidewalk Project.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Smith, second by Councilmember Holland. The E got me on that one, sorry. Councilmember Smith.
Point of order.
Yep. Mr. Fredericks.
The motion that's currently on the floor is to sign or to approve the invoice. What you're asking for here is to authorize the mayor to sign a contract with the lowest bidder. So I want to make sure what we're actually approving here. We're not approving an invoice, we're approving a contract.
So it's an invoice, but the original contract was it's a time and material, so it's a it's a unit pricing contract. So that when they went out to do the work, the unit prices were a little bit different, so they're asking us to re-sign the contract because it shows a different total dollar amount. So our original contract, when they brought it in based on what we did in the field estimate, we had certain dollars of unit pricing, like we had so many yards of gravel, so much asphalt, so much concrete, so on and so forth. So the unit pricing actually came in a little different. It came in more on some, less on others. So since it's a unit price contract, it's actually an invoice. The invoice is for the actuals. So that's what it is. You're really approving an invoice is what you're approving.
But we're not approving a new contract?
That's correct, but they consider it, since it's a unit price contract, they're considering it their contract, but it's really just the invoice, because we've already approved the contract based on the lowest bid unit pricing.
Okay.
We already signed a contract, but now we just have to pay the actual invoices off the unit price contract. So you're approving an invoice. And it's a little bit more than what the bid came in at, but it's still, they're still the lowest price bidder because it was a unit price bid.
That's not what the sheet says. You're approving a contract.
Let me go back up to the top.
Authorize mayor to sign a contract with the lowest bidder. Halmy, I don't even know if I'm saying that right.
It says authorize mayor to approve an invoice with Halmy Excavating, and then go down below it. Does it say contract in there? Let me see.
You know what?
Contracted by unit
This
pricing.
project was contracted by unit pricing.
This is the original one.
Oh, you have a different one. Thank you, because I didn't want to make two mistakes in one night.
That's
One
okay.
was enough.
I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you.
So you didn't have to rule on the point of order. Ooh, simple.
Okay. Councilmember Smith.
It sounds like my questions were answered with that conversation. It's $7,000 over, and you do have the budget for the $7,000 over?
We have money in our funds for the 7,000, correct?
Okay.
And does everybody understand what happened on that? Do I need to explain that? Okay.
Okay. Councilmember Holland.
Oh, no comment.
Councilmember Fredericks.
This is a follow-up to a question that I raised, I don't know, when was the last time I was here? October. It's been a while. And you may have emailed me on this, but due to the city's updated website, I can't log into my email anymore. The website looks a lot nicer, but if you could all send me, don't email me, but if you could somehow get me instructions on how to get into the website, that would be fantastic. But to get into my email, there used to be a link. We'll do that offline. But the follow-up that I had was I wanted to ensure that the city was following the E-Verify process in our contracts with these folks, or with every vendor that we're doing business with, to ensure that we are living within the policy that was passed by the previous council on ensuring that we are doing E-Verification, that we are having our contractors we're contracting business with ensure that they have that policy in place before they do business with the city of Woodland. And that's what I'm trying to determine, if that policy is in place today, and if so, where would I find that on the contract packet that we give them?
So we did talk about that, Gina and myself and Catherine, and I did send you an email, and I can't remember all the details. I will get it to you. We were following the process. The process had changed somehow, where I don't think if we had to do it, or if it was being done through MRSC, or somehow it was being done, but I did do a follow-up email, said you can't get to your email, I'll get something printed out and get it to you. make sure you get a copy of it. But I did do a follow-up on that, I just can't remember all the details, but I had to research a little bit of it as,
Okay.
with Catherine. And do you remember, Pete, or Gina? We talked about that.
It's been a while.
That's okay.
It's been a couple months, but I did respond to you and I'll.
I
find my
appreciate the
responses.
response, I can't get in to see it.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find it before the end of the meeting again.
The new instructions were probably emailed out, but how to get into your email, but
Yeah.
I missed the memo.
Yeah, Travis is
So-
gonna help you out with that.
Okay, thank you, Travis. Thank you.
Anything further? Mrs. Anderson, can you please take the roll on action item H?
Councilmember Holland?
Aye.
Councilmember Fredericks?
Aye.
Councilmember Graham?
Aye.
Councilmember Chapman?
Aye.
Councilmember Smith?
Me too. Action item H has passed. Moving on to action item I, disposal of surplus city property.
Motion to approve action item I, disposal of surplus property.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Smith, second by Councilmember Holland. Councilmember Smith.
No comment.
Councilmember Holland.
It sounds like the previous pile of surplus items, some former staff member called dibs on it. They've picked it up. Now things are going to be live tomorrow. The auction goes live tomorrow. So anybody who wants can bid on a dump truck.
On a dump truck. And an old fire truck.
Yes.
Where is that at in here?
There's some,
Last meeting.
hey, Public
These were-
Works.
This is the second resolution.
Come to meeting
So-
while you first.
At the previous meeting.
These items were added. Yeah, you missed that meeting.
So, anyway,
This
that's,
is my email.
because what people don't realize that as a municipality, you can't just chuck it or donate it to a nonprofit. You have to surplus it and auction it off to the highest bidder. So Woodlanders have an opportunity to own a former City of Woodland dump truck or police car.
Box of binders.
Box of binders. There's all kinds of fabulous items up for auction. And that money goes back into the City of Woodland bank account. That's all.
That's all. Anything further? Oh, we can't take commentary from the gallery. I apologize. Oh, okay. City employees are not allowed to bid on the items, so I could see the question in your eyes.
Yes,
Is that correct?
Yes, but friends.
Spouses.
Friends and spouses can.
So,
Done.
So if a city employee would like.
A fire truck.
If their wife would like to drive a fire truck,
Yes.
they have an opportunity to bid upon one.
I'd bid on it if the lights and sirens still worked.
And you can find yourself in a bed of hot water, like a former elected official out in East. Yes, thank you.
Does it still have the sensor to turn the lights green? That's what I want to know.
I think, isn't that called an Omnicron? Opticon. Oh, I was close.
Yeah.
I was close. Dang it. That would have been funny, though.
They removed that, huh? You don't have them? Wow,
Further discussion.
that sucks.
Mrs. Anderson, you please take the roll on the additional surplus items on resolution, authorized, where am I? Resolution 743, action item I.
Councilmember Graham?
Aye.
Councilmember Fredericks?
Aye.
Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Councilmember Holland?
Aye.
Councilmember Chapman?
Aye.
Action item I has passed. Moving on to action item J, authorize 2021-2022 renewal with Cities Insurance Association of Washington, other known as CIAW, and Propel Insurance, our broker, and authorize budget amendment.
Motion to approve action item J, authorize 2021-2022 renewal with Cities Insurance Association of Washington and Propel Insurance Broker, and authorize budget amendment.
Second.
Oh, whoa. Second by Councilmember Fredericks. Councilmember Smith. I wasn't expecting.
No comment.
Councilmember Fredericks.
It's not free. This $93,552 increase, is that in the budget amendments that we're about ready to look at on action item J or not?
Yes, it is.
It's included.
Yes.
You mean K? You said J.
Listen, sure.
Okay.
By budget amendments, it's not J, I'm looking at the summary sheet.
Oh, gotcha.
It's okay.
Sorry, sorry.
That's okay. But is this amount being adopted, the difference being adopted in the 22 budget that we've already passed? Has that number, the correct number, been put in there?
Not yet.
Okay.
So we just received this renewal, so we'll be looking at the appropriation, which will most likely need to increase.
Okay.
Why such a large increase?
It lists all the things that changed. If you, I know it even has a page number. Under the Propel premium comparison, it shows that the property and equipment went up like $20,000. The crime premium went down, all of $700. General liability went up like $34,000. Auto went down, and the broker fee stayed the same. We added the Scottsdale Booster Station, business interruption and extra expense was decreased from $5 million to $2,500,000. Rental income decreased, but we acquired property sublimit decreased from $2.5 million to $1 million. Electronic database sublimit decreased from $10 million to $2.5 million. We added vehicles. We deleted some vehicles, and they increased the square footage from $125 to $250 per square foot for buildings. That's a large portion of it.
Is that because our property values are higher now in Woodland?
It was
Or
the insurance carriers' way to even things up. Our square footage was so, the price per square footage was so low, $125. So they've increased it, so everybody's insurance went up. It's like an 18% increase.
I feel like these folks budget a lot like my cable bill.
Well, they do, it's a pool.
They walk into a room and they go, wow, what were our numbers last year and what do we think they might be? And, let's just make this number.
I can attest they don't. I'm on the board.
Okay,
for
thank you,
CIAW.
Ms. Anderson. That gives me
warm fuzzies?
assurance. Thank you.
Further discussion.
There is one driver on there you could probably remove. It's probably high risk, and that's myself.
Yeah, well,
So
this
you
is
can take that
as
off.
effective as December 1st.
Okay.
So as of January 1st, we'll remove Dennis.
Cut them out.
Yeah.
Right.
Seeing nothing else. Mrs. Anderson, you take the roll on action item J, authorize renewal with Cities Insurance Association of Washington and Propel Insurance.
Councilmember
Oh.
Graham?
well, no,
Stand by.
my question was, Mr. Fredericks was commenting on removing him, and I noticed former employees are still listed. So, I guess you'd want to have,
We'll go through that. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah, so
Thank you. We'll go through that and make the adjustments.
okay. Okay.
Mrs. Anderson.
Councilmember Graham?
Aye.
Councilmember Holland?
Aye.
Councilmember Fredericks?
Aye.
Councilmember Chapman?
Aye.
Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Action item J has passed. Moving on to action item K, adopt ordinance number 1493, third quarter 21, budget amendment, first and final reading.
Move adoption of ordinance number 1493, 2021 budget amendments, first and final reading.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Fredericks, seconded by Councilmember Smith. Councilmember Fredericks.
Okay, $737,000 increase to sales and use tax. That's a phenomenal number. I just wanted to raise that as a, don't spend it. Just put it in 301 reserves and pretend like you never had it. Because there will be a rainy day, and the transitory inflation that we have.
plus we
Just gonna
dropped
be
our
here forever.
property tax, so we're more reliant on sales tax.
Yes. Yep. But, and hopefully they'll parse that out and put it in the next video. Revenue's up, revenue's down, revenue's up.
Councilmember Smith.
I'll just make a note that I think you're going to be missed, Councilmember Fredericks, as far as the budgeting goes. I think you're very thorough and you do a really good job of catching stuff that a lot of us might miss. And as far as a comment on this, I think it looks good, but you will be missed.
Thank you, Councilmember. Appreciate it.
Further discussion? Are you crying?
No, not yet.
Mrs. Anderson, you take the roll in action item K, please.
Councilmember Graham?
Aye.
Councilmember Chapman?
Aye.
Councilmember Fredericks?
Aye.
Councilmember Holland?
Aye.
Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Action item K has passed. I thought it was still fast enough. The time is now 8:03 p.m. and we are going into a workshop. Retooling our code batch 4, changes to remove the council from the land use appeal process. ZTA-21-001. Mr. Goddard, please step up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Before you, what you have with you in your packet tonight is a reflection of a request that went to me after a recent appeal hearing, and the council indicated that they would prefer to not be involved in the appeal process. You can see in the table that was given to you is our code is quirky in that each individual type of application is treated differently and goes through different processes. And what you have before you tonight would take the city council out of the appeal process, but I also recommend that we address the underlying issue of trying to create a stable permitting process that would be predictable for all applicants, regardless of what they're applying for. And I think that might be the second step of what we want to talk about. And I specifically did this work session and I scheduled a public hearing for these changes and some additional changes that we have been working with the hearings examiner and Frank, the city's attorney, have been discussing these last couple days since this was drafted. But theoretically, you will have the opportunity to address these changes before the appeal hearing for the code enforcement notice and order for that's currently going through the process for 20 after 4. So should you want to avoid having to deal with that appeal or an appeal of that appeal, this would allow you to do that. So do you have any questions?
Mr. Fredericks.
So my comment is city council are policymakers. We make policy. And when we are hearing these matters, we're asked to we're not hearing a policy decision. We're being asked whether or not a process was followed to the letter of the law. And so we're being asked to put on a different hat, so to speak, and it makes it extremely difficult to be able to have to hear that type of thing, because I can remember the last one that came for me. I had an opinion that, hey, this shouldn't be allowed. But that was not the question that came before the council. The question that came before the council is, did the hearing examiner follow the letter of the law? He did. But it was clear to me that we had members of the council, maybe a member or members of the council, that felt that I don't want it, so therefore I can make my case as to no. The concern with that is if the council does vote in a majority, that majority in this case of know the hearings examiner violated the law in the process of this, it then forces the city to defend ourselves in what I believe to be a losing proposition. And that is what we're trying to fix here, is that the policymakers can maintain being policymakers, and the judicial branch can focus on whether or not someone followed the law. And I think that it is very important that we remove ourselves from having to hear, when we're policymakers, having to hear what really should be in front of Judge Wapner, so to speak. So that's I think this makes a lot of sense. I think we shouldn't be put in that type of position, because as a policymaker, I agreed with the people who were appealing. But that's not the question that came before us. It's almost as though you're given jury instructions. You gotta follow the instructions. You can't go out, you have to follow those specific instructions. And that was what was before us. And it makes it very difficult as a policymaker to be in that spot.
And the same thing, the process is that, and if you do not apply the law correctly, the Superior Court can impose sanctions against the city board. So I felt that it was a very unfortunate that the city council was put in that position. It is the system we have. I think we have an excellent hearing examiner that's very thorough in his analysis. They make mistakes. That's just going to be a different ballgame. If someone feels they have not had the law applied, then you go before a Cowles County Superior Court judge and make your case. But on the other hand, you are still free to set policy. That is your job to set policy, and that is what must be complied with. And that is a valid thing. But to put you in the middle of a legal dispute is just not fair.
So this fixes that, and it also makes it easier to understand what the rules are of engagement if you're wanting to do business with the city of Woodland. So we're getting really a twofer here. We're fixing that issue, but we're also fixing maybe streamlining a process. We're making sure that folks understand the rules of engagement, because folks who want to spend money, they want to know what the rules are before they lay out the money. They don't want to have a moving target. No one's going to do business with you if you don't have solid code and solid rules of engagement. So that's my 2 pennies worth.
Mr. Randall.
And likewise, this is just a workshop, because as Travis and I were discussing it beforehand, we will take a look at it, and then when we have to change the code, that will have to be brought back to council, and then we can answer any discussions of what we're doing. So I strongly support it. I think it's a mistake. MRSC has made clear that they think it's a mistake too. If you're a policy body, that's what you need to focus on, and to be thrust into a purely legal argument was not wise either.
Mr. Smith.
So if we change this code before the next meeting, or at the next meeting, there's a chance we won't do the appeal then?
Well, there's no guarantee that there's going to be an additional appeal that comes before you, but it gives you the option to pursue it on a timeline that would take the chance out of it.
Okay. But we are going to do the appeal.
So the appeal is going to the hearings examiner in accordance with the new code enforcement code that was adopted last year. And so under that, Councilman Fredericks brought up a good point, and that is you are part of the legislative branch, and that appeal process goes through our executive branch. So it's a staff decision reviewed by the hearings examiner as part of the executive branch.
Okay.
If you would like to keep yourself out of the executive branch appeal process, you will be able to do that if you choose to. If you want to wait around and maybe take one last whack at the piñata before this changes, that would be up to you.
That sounds fun.
If you think about it from a policy standpoint, though, the council has ruled that said they don't want a certain activity to occur. And so, if it goes through the process and you end up, going through the appeal process, we would hear it. And the question before us is, did the hearings examiner violate the law? No, but you might have members of the council who feel very strongly about, hey, I think the council erred. Not about whether or not the hearings examiner and follow the law. The question then becomes maybe you've got that policy thing working in your head because you're a policymaker. The heck with the law, I've got to focus on what I want here because this is what the citizens want. I got to do what the citizens want. And so you could have a majority of the council say, no, because I think this should be allowed, this activity could be allowed. And I think that that's where you end up getting it's very hard for people to separate the two roles. Judge Wapner, which is what we are in this instance, or we're not policymakers at that time, really. It's like we could all go in there and change into black robes and come out here because that's how we should be acting, and that is a judicial capacity, almost like a quasi-judicial, because that's what it should be. It's like you have to put your policy hat aside, and it makes it very difficult to be able to separate the two. At least that's what I've seen in the last instance we have. So I appreciate the work that's been done, and whether if I'm here to adopt it, I hope the council adopts it. I think it's good policy.
I have a question.
Mrs. Hall.
So why, if this is a dumb idea, why is it the way it is?
Well, I think this is a throwback to when the code was originally adopted, and at the time, the council probably felt that not all cases are the same, and so there's some stuff that they trust staff to do, and there's some stuff that they trust the hearings examiner to do, and there's some stuff that they don't trust anybody to do it except for the 7 elected council members. And in the 20 some odd 40 years since that code was adopted, we've come to realize that the predictability, being able to tell a developer, this is your risk, this is the process, this is how we're going to treat you, and the predictability that comes with that is probably more important than the opportunity that if you say no, that there's 2 or 3 opportunities to get my opinion overturned. And staff, has come to realize in those 30, 40 years that our role is to review the project against the code, not apply interpretations and that kind of stuff. So staff's role now is to interpret the code. The hearings examiner reviews whether or not they did a good job and it was legally sound. So the council should no longer have to guess whether or not they think the hearings examiner made a mistake. The council's position is, I see an error in judgment, we got to fix the code. You don't overturn the hearings examiner's opinion, you fix the code so that the code says what you want it to say instead of what staff and the examiner interpret.
So how many, like this deal we just had, whenever that was, September, whenever. I slept a lot since then.
Yeah.
So in 30 to 40 years of this being the rule, how many times has it come before council?
So I believe I saw what was clearly obvious, and I can't say that this is for sure, but I think I saw that there were about 5 appeals that appeared to have come before the hearings examiner. Before the city council. So there's not a significant number of them. However, because land use applicants have become a lot more savvy than before, and the amount of money that is invested in these type of applications and designs, their developers are less likely to be told no and just walk away and start on another project. They're more likely now, with the millions of dollars involved with some of these, to get more into the argument about whether or not they should have been told no or not.
To bully their way in? That's kind of what I hear, is to bully their way in.
In some sense, yes. But part of it also is staff is a lot more savvy now about, we don't take crap forward. We help them make good decisions before they invest a ton of time and energy in a project And if it's something that I would never support, I tell them over the counter. I don't wait for them to invest money and tell them no. We help them make good decisions so they're more likely to succeed. So I think I've denied one project in the 4 years I've been here. And it wasn't even that project that I denied. That went to the Planning Commission, it went to the hearings examiner and was approved, and the appeal was challenged on an approval, not on a denial. So there's no predictability as to when those appeals are going to come in. They're just better funded than they used to be.
Well, and if I remember correctly, the mayor was gone for hours, so Monty...
I was here for part of it, I think, and then you had to take over the second part.
Monty was mayor pro tem. And interestingly enough, I just don't know if anybody paid attention, but a lot of the shenanigans that went on with the folks that was so against the rules, like 10,000 times against the rules. Because I went back and read it, because I'm like, how is this a thing? That people can just do what they were doing and like giving their time. That's against the rules. So I went back and read all of it afterwards, and all those rules were broken. So I kind of wondered if we would have given the wrong answer, if somebody could have challenged it on the fact that things were allowed that should not have been allowed. But, so what this is going to do is, you're a professional. This would take it out of council's responsibility. It would be your department. And maybe 30, 40 years ago, council didn't trust the people in that department.
I think Mr. Fredericks has something to say about that, I think.
So, what?
I do.
Yeah,
I have.
doesn't want
My
to step on it.
assumption was this probably, a large portion of this was adopted in 1981. Does that sound about right?
About right.
Yeah, so it's the makeup of the council in 1981. I've done a little research on that. And we had a 5-member board at the time. And it's all about control.
Were they all realtors?
Well, it's funny you should mention that. 2 of the 5 members on the council were land. They had land in the city of Woodland. And they would each do their own little deals. So, you'd have somebody who want a zone change, they would go, no, that competes with us. We don't want to do that. So they would do their own zone changes. They'd all have to, like if you did one zone change, you'd have to recuse yourself because it's your own zone change. But we had a couple people on council that were, hey, if you can get my zone change approved, I'll get your zone change approved. And that's kind of how it worked back in those days. It's like people would join the council but in this case, it was all about control. They wanted to control the process because this was another avenue for them to be able to say, we're not doing this. And given the time of our city attorney back then, you may not get instructions like you get from Mr. Randolph of, hey, are you following the process? It's the process question. It's not another opportunity for you to deny something or say no to something. And so I look at it as, given what I know about the makeup of that time, and you can probably remember that time it was yeah.
Wasn't my department.
Yeah, but to me, it's all about control. And in my mind, it's like, we should not even be anywhere near this. Get us out of here. And I guarantee you there are some people that are probably saying, well, the council's giving all their control away. This is not something you want to have because you're dealing, okay, I'm a policymaker, but now I've got to tell you no against the people who I tend to agree with. I agree with you, but that's not what's before you. And it makes it very difficult because the assumption is you support one thing based upon your actions, but it makes it very difficult. So I think this is, get it out of here.
Well, see, that confirms what I was thinking, is that someone didn't trust that they would get the response that they wanted.
Why would we let the courts do it when we can control it ourselves? The problem is if you make bad choices up here, you are held accountable
By
at the
the
next
court,
level. And are
yeah.
you willing to spend the money on that? And, I don't want to find out.
Well, that answers my question, because I mean, me personally, I don't care one way or the other if somebody doesn't like whatever, right? Because we did what we were supposed to do in that particular situation. I don't have a law background, but when you're asked to look at a 125-page document, I think is what was delivered. That was part of it, but I kind of think that you're the professional and you should kind of have a say in this stuff, whereas council should not.
And ultimately, the decision you made could have been appealed to county court, in which case, even after reviewing all of that, if you had done something differently, there's no guarantee it wouldn't go to court anyways. So,
It's all about what level of risk you're comfortable with. And that's one area that I'm just not comfortable with, because I think we had one member of the council who voted to say no. No, I agree with the appellant in this case. I just don't think that if we'd have had a majority, we would have been wasting money at the in my opinion, we'd have been wasting Frank's time to defend our case, which we would have lost. And I truly believe the one was making a policy decision. She was doing what she thought was right for the community. And I don't disagree with her, but that's not what was before us. I wanted to do what she did in this case. I agree with her, but I couldn't get there with what was being put in front of us. And I just don't think we should be in that spot. I'll stop talking.
I feel like this puts us in, like, making an emotional decision versus the rational, educated decision on it. And I don't think that bodes well for us in the future if we vote with our emotions versus the facts.
Well, I'm dead inside, so I no emotions to go with, so.
Welcome to the club.
So what would we need to do to make this a thing or not make it a thing? Because, as I've said in the past, I love you, but your department kind of makes me sleepy. All that realty talk makes me sleepy.
So there is some general language that is included. The city's attorney, Frank Randolph, and I need to sit down and think through and make sure that we are not creating any landmines for ourselves or that we're not leaving anything unexplored. And then we will bring an ordinance. As a matter of fact, the ordinance is already drafted, and that's what got Frank, the hearings examiner, and I talking. So at your next council meeting, there will be an ordinance for you to consider. And if it's not substantially the same as what you have before you tonight, which is the grade school version of what Frank and I are diving into, and we're making it a lot more complicated in our discussion. So I'm not sure if that'll result in a much more complicated ordinance, but we'll think that through so that you don't necessarily have to be part of that argument. You can just hear both sides of it and then decide what you want to do.
And the other thing is that right now we're not pressed, so if we come back and we're not comfortable with it, we have time to fix it. It's not like make a decision and then roll the dice to see if the court agrees. So, and again, MRSC recommends it. It says, the comp plan is how councils make decisions in terms of how things can fit. If you start getting into individual projects, you start getting out of your expertise area and comfort level, and are frankly dealing with a legal thing. I mean, the decisions you make may be wise policy decisions, but if they go against the law, then the city has problems.
timing perspective, is this something that will be complete before we would have to hear another appeal?
No, not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
So the hearings examiner will hear his appeal on January 4th, and typically he would not issue his decision for 10 to 14 days after that meeting. So theoretically, your first hearing on this will be December 20th. You would have this January 3rd and January 17th, theoretically, to adopt maybe first and second, or do a first and final instead of having two separate meetings.
We're not able to adopt if we have a hearing on the 20th and adopt the first reading on the 20th, so then you only have to adopt the second on the 3rd.
You could, but it's unlikely we would even receive an appeal before first and separate meetings, even if they're, the most likely appeal period would be the first meeting in February is about when the deadline would expire. So I don't expect that it would be before the council again, before you have the opportunity to have a public hearing and potentially a first and second reading, if you chose to go that way. Or you could delay it and...
Well, that'll be someone else's issue. We can come and watch. Yes, and I are out.
Any other questions for Mr. Goddard?
We could. Like public testimony.
All right, thank you, Mr. Goddard. Appreciate that. The time is 8:29. We are now out of a workshop. And anything else for the good of the order?
I just had a quick question. So, the Washington Cities,
AWC?
yes.
Okay.
So are they doing,
I haven't heard if they're doing virtual or if they're allowing in person yet.
Okay.
Because I don't know what the rules for session are going to be yet, but we will keep you posted.
okay, I just figured of anybody you would know.
Yes, we're not there yet. We're getting close.
Alrighty, thank you.
But I know the session starts, I think, mid-January. I want to say the 17th. Does that sound right? 18th? Somewhere in there. So, all right, we've come to the end of our meeting.
Move to adjourn?
Second.
Whoa, there was a delay. Motion by Councilmember Holland, seconded by Councilmember Chapman. All in favor say aye. Aye. Everyone opposed? The time